nerds, what's up? Happy March! It is Women's History Month. Angry, liberal, feminist, killjoy. I had to wear it. Today we are going to be doing my February wrap-up. Let's get started. So in February I read 5 books and the 6th one I read on March 2nd, so I'm just going to shortly discuss it and then we're just gonna move right on past. And then I also am in the middle of one more book, so we will talk a little bit about that one too. So let's get started with the first book that I finished this month, Scythe by Neal Shusterman. 5 out of 5 stars. I picked this book up because everyone's been talking about the sequel. Thunderhead is coming out, or just came out, and so everyone was talking about it. There were a lot of videos coming up on YouTube that was mostly sponsorships and all that good stuff, and so I decided to pick it up because I was interested, and I didn't know that I was going to like this book as much as I liked it. I was a pleasant surprise. I thought this book was really fantastic. It follows a girl named Citra and a boy named Rowan who are chosen to be Scythe apprentices. Basically, no one dies of old age, no one can die by accident, everyone survives. And in order to maintain population control, they've created the Scythedom, and the Scythedom is a group of humans who are given the ability to kill people, and that's what they do for their living. They're highly respected but also highly feared, obviously. And so Citra and Rowan become these 2 apprentices to this one scythe, and there's controversies and there's also some like dystopian elements within this utopia. Not all is as it seems, and I can't wait to read Thunderhead and get more information about this. Yes, I really enjoyed this. It was a great surprise, and I am probably going to buy this copy as well as the sequel soon because I got this from the library and I want to own it. I Stopped Somewhere by T.E. Carter, and I got this in a early copy e-arc from NetGalley, so thank you NetGalley. This is about a girl who was taken, and there is a really big trigger warning for rape in this story. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It follows this girl and the mystery of where she went because she was taken and she's been missing for like a year, and the city is a small town where it happened. This book was really good. It was not what I was expecting. The next book that I finished was Before the Devil Breaks You by Liva Bray, which is the 3rd book in the Diviner series. I listened to this book on audio. These books on audio are amazing. Everyone says it, everyone knows it, so you should know it. Please, if you like audiobooks, this is really amazing. And if you haven't tried audiobooks or you don't think you like them but want to give something a try this book out or the series out, because wow, they're so good on audio. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. This series follows a large cast of characters, all set in 1920s, and all of the characters, or a lot of the characters, are diviners, which means they have special powers, and they each have different types of powers. There are people who can make themselves disappear. There are people who can read history based on an object, the history of the person who owned it. They also hunt and kill ghosts, and it's really good paranormal historical fiction. The audiobook is amazing, as per usual, and the 3rd book did not disappoint. Next book I read was for the February Sassy Book Club, and it was Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I can't decide which. I listened to this book on audio and I did not love the audiobook, so as much as I rave about audiobooks, this was not one to choose. I recommend if you read this, read it in print, because the audiobook was just not great. And I think that if I had read it in print, I would have given it a 4, and I think because I read it in audio, it's more of 3, and so that's why I go back and forth on what I want to give it. This book has a huge trigger warning for self-harm, suicide, abuse, drug use. Basically anything bad can happen in this book. Sexual assault, everything, like anything and everything takes place in this book. It follows a girl named Charlie who is in pieces, hence the title, and it starts off with Charlie having just been institutionalized in a mental health center. You find out more about her past, and also she does end up getting out of the center and like trying to move on with her life, and that's what this story follows. And very intense, very intense book, and there are no likable characters. which I think is also one of the reasons that I didn't love it, even though it was really realistic. And I think the representation was probably really well done based on other people's opinions and also based on like the feelings that I had when I was reading it. I just didn't love the way that it was written. I think the writing was really all over the place and like the plot wasn't really well driven. I guess it was more of a character study, and I didn't love that either. And I also just really think that the audiobook was what made me not like it as much as I would have if I had read it. The next book that I read was Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I didn't realize how big this book was. It's almost 600 pages. It's a honker. Didn't know that. I buddy read this with Sarah at Sarah Sunbeams, and oh my god, it was so good. This is a adult fiction, and it is mixed media sometimes. Not like completely, but there are parts of it that are like newspaper clippings or crime files, stuff like that. And this is a mystery thriller about a man. He's a disgraced journalist, and he's trying to clear his name, basically, when what destroyed his name in the first place was a family, the Cordovas, and the man, Stanislav Cordova, is basically like the Stephen King, Steven Spielberg. He makes all these horror films. Stanislav Cordova's daughter has died, and it's seems to be a suicide, and so the journalist decides to see if there's anything to that, and possibly, maybe, it's actually a murder, and he decides to go looking into that. That's what this whole mystery is about. 5 out of 5 stars. However, I do want to talk about one thing that really bothered me. There is one very small character that is described in the book. He's not a main character by any means. He's not actually even technically in the book. He's just discussed as a character in a film by Cordova. And they call him deaf mute. That's a derogatory term toward deaf people. And also then shortly after that, they say that this deaf mute person like regularly was listening to the Beatles in his office. And it was like, so was he not deaf? Or like, you didn't explain anything? And then shortly after that, something along the lines of because he was deaf mute, he would be the best secret keeper or something, and it's just like, it just did not vibe well with me. Luckily, wasn't a big part. It was like within 5 to 10 pages and then it was over, and that character is never mentioned again because, like I said, he was just being described from this film that he's talking about, but I did not like that, and so that's something that I just don't really like. But other than that, it was an amazing story. Really loved the whole story as a whole. I do want to just quickly mention, because I finished it just recently and did read most of in February, was The Tombs by Deborah Schomburg. I was sent this in exchange for an honest review. I did a vlog style review of this book, and so thank you very much, Harper Teen, for sending me this. I really appreciate it. There's one DNF that I need to talk about and one book that I'm currently reading. And so I was sent this book in exchange for a review, and it was The Xenon Tech Archives by Ashley M. Jackson, and it is File 1, Son of Discord. This book is about a boy who has this like special power, and I'm not even sure like what the special power is anymore. He has to go on an adventure to kill the tyrant in this sci-fi world, futuristic story. I gave it until page 114, so I read more than half of it, and I couldn't get through it, and I didn't want to waste my time reading it anymore. There's a character named Persephone in it who is described as old, and then she's said to be only 26, and that rubbed me the wrong way because the character who's the main character is 16, and 26, it doesn't seem old enough for the 16-year-old to feel like she's old anyway. And she's also like the caregiver, and she just didn't feel like she didn't feel like the 26-year-old she was said to be. It was very weird. And she also like calls him sweetie and sweetheart in every piece of dialogue that she says. The idea is interesting, and I didn't like the way it was done, and so I didn't finish it. So I can't give it a star rating. But yeah, didn't so much enjoy it, so sorry. I'm listening to an audiobook, and it is Welcome to Night Vale by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Campbell. This book was the book that I picked out of my TBR jar, or one of the 3 that I picked out, and this is the one I decided to read. So I'm almost done with it. I think I'm like 75% done, so I'm like almost there. This book is a really weird one, and I will get more into it in March when I do it in my wrap-up. But yes, I'm currently reading my February TBR pick on audio. These are all of the books that I read in the month of February. I'm hoping to get to the rest of the books that I had on my TBR in March, so we will do that in the next video. Until then, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and all those goodies all down below in the description box. You can also follow the Sassy Book Club. In March, we're going to be reading A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle, and we're going to be watching the movie and then discussing both in the live show. I'm super excited for it, so you can find all that information, the Goodreads page, the Twitter, all that stuff, all in the description box as well. Comment down below what was your favorite book you read in February, and I will see you guys very soon in another video. Bye! I wish I could take